less than 6 months since we launched in France, and we see a constant pipeline of new innovation within Paris in particular and France in general.
After a few years, the industry really began to take off in France. We see the French young tech people and the agencies represent them all over the place, all over the world.
There are a couple of things going on in France that are particularly compelling for U.S. investors and even British investors, for instance. The first is the quality of the engineering and technical talent in France. The second thing is that government initiatives over the last several years in France have been particularly strong and well targeted.
I didn't know it was possible to raise money in France. We always think it's a lot easier to raise money in the United States for startup. So it's good to learn that you can raise money in France.
France is a country of terroir, so people know where they come from, and that they have the common sense. They do something not just because they are smart. They do something because they want to answer and fulfill the demand.
Welcome back to Global Village. I'm Buddy Conanan. Tonight's topic is French Tech Philippines, and joining us still is Cyril Rock, and he's the director of French Tech Philippines. And we've said au revoir to Benedict Soup, and taking her place now is another very dynamic Filipino-French entrepreneur. His name is Henri Mot Munoz, and he is the founder and CEO of Educacion.ph. Cyril, welcome back to our third segment. Of course, welcome to Global Village, Henri.
Thank you for having us.
Now, that video again, I'm always showing these Le French Tech videos before we come on.
Sure.
Because, it's a nice insight into what is going on over there in France, in Paris, in the startup scene. And as we saw again from this other video, very, very upbeat people. And there was an American there who said he was so surprised at how easy it was actually to raise funds in France for a startup. Because traditionally people think, okay, startup, America, easy access to funds. But apparently in France, VCs or venture capitalists are on the up and up.
Yeah. So actually this is a very interesting point you're raising, because France this year should become number one or close number two in terms of VC capital raised for the whole year. So about $2 billion.
That's amazing.
So this is very important to highlight. The other thing that we want also to highlight about French Tech is not just about French people going outside all over the world, in the US or in Asia. It's also France becoming a global power, or that's the objective, in terms of innovation and creating the next Google or the next Amazon or any startup along those lines. So we understand that, and therefore the purpose of having French people and promoting French tech outside France is to have French young entrepreneurs engage and develop relationship with people all over the world. The other thing that we want is to make sure that we can attract the best talent back to France. And this is why French Tech includes two other features. One is French Tech Visa, to provide long-term visa to foreign workers in the tech industry who want to work with French tech companies in France. But there's also another package which will provide incubation services and seed funding for startups that emerge in French tech hubs in other countries in the world. So you can also go back to France, be nurtured and be funded going back to France.
Very good. And what a way to attract people to come. You make a good visa policy, you get funding, and I can't think of a better place to work than France with your very nice work weeks and healthcare and all that, and of course the food and the wine. Bravo. So now, I'm glad you mentioned tech startups, because now we have a tech startup here called Educacion.ph, started by Henri. Tell us a bit about Educacion.ph.
Sure. So Educacion.ph is a...
I need to speak into this.
Educacion.ph is a social enterprise which helps students find a quality, affordable and relevant education which will prepare them for employment. So it's a very simple concept. As an online marketplace, you have schools and then you have students. We have more than 250 high schools and colleges in the Philippines and abroad, and more than 200,000 students a month who go on the website going through these schools, going through more than 10,000 other schools that are on the platform, and really being able to get three things. The first one is choice, so understanding what the options are. The second one is advice, which is picking the right option for them based on their skills, their budget, their location. And the third one is convenience. Everything's online, on your phone, on a desktop, easy and free, 24/7.
Yes. You know, a lot of these schools have their own websites, right? But as you said, what you did was bring it all together under one roof. Because it's difficult, I guess, to look at 10 different websites or 20 different websites. And you said that you have a cache of 250 schools in your online marketplace.
Yes, exactly. And I think, you know, websites typically of schools do a pretty good job of giving information about the school, but very few of them will actually offer an online application. And so whilst you may get information about the school, you still have to apply in person, or you have to send everything by fax or through the mail, etc. So it's slow, it's expensive, it's antiquated.
How old is Educacion.ph? How many years has it been up and running?
We are now in our third year.
Was it difficult to set up? Because when you talk about 250 schools, and I went to one very bureaucratic school to begin with. I mean, how do you get 250 schools to get on the same page with you? That's a lot of work, huh?
It's a lot of meetings. No, so I think, you know, we never really quite knew which schools would first sign up with us. Some people told us, oh, it's going to be the big schools or smaller ones or very expensive or lower cost. It actually turns out the schools which were most, quote unquote, either digitally aware or already digitally prepared, they're the ones who saw either an advantage in joining yet another online platform, or if they didn't really have an online presence, they saw this as a way of expediting it. And so there was a lot of discovery, a lot of meetings, a lot of convincing. But then as the first few clients got successful applications and were quite happy and renewed with us, it became easier to convince other schools. But you know, there's more than 60,000 schools in the entire country. So 250 is just the beginning.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely.
Yes, wow. And how has the reception been from the students, from the end user? How many people have you helped on this process, this online process?
So we reached more than 1 million people in August. So more than 1 million Filipinos have used our services, whether it's checked out our website or accessed different versions of the site or attended events that we've held across schools and cities. Now, having said that, you know, there's a difference between people who use their website and find it helpful versus people who have a complete customer journey.
Yes. Actually, we have a video from Educacion.ph, which we're going to show now, and it will give viewers a little bit of an idea about what Andy's talking about when he says he's created a online education marketplace. So let's have that video. Very nice. So really just click, 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 and you mentioned there the three basic functions that online application, and you have access to information, and it helps you choose really what schools are best suited for you.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Now, have you always been an entrepreneur? Is this something that you always wanted to do?
So this is the first venture I've ever gotten involved with. I previously worked in finance for a couple of years. I've always thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never quite knew what I would actually do. And it's been an interesting journey.
See, Cyril, this is like you 26 years ago, from the finance sector, yes, and then now, startup.
Yes, it just took me longer to reach that point. At that time, it was, if I may say, I was in a riskier situation because I was already married with 2 kids. So the risk profile was higher. So you can afford to go, to make some mistakes. But so it's a different world also today. You have access. I think it's easier access to money. Yes. The environment is more conducive. Yes. At the time, I was considered a bit crazy. Even my father did not understand why I was doing that. You know, why would
Leaving
you
the
quit
comfort of a good job.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, and one of the directors of the bank I used to work with at the time told me, you know, you're right, we only have one life. So you have to make that decision now or never. So.
Bravo, Henri. Help or mentoring from French Tech Philippines. What kind of help has been given to you? What kind of support? Did this whole mentoring thing also help you the same way it's helped Benedict set up her social enterprise?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, the thing they always tell you when you start a company is how difficult it is, but then you never quite believe it until you go through it. And then by the time you realize it, it's a little bit too late. And so all the help you can get is always more than welcome. So I think, you know, with the French Tech, whether it's been helping us with some of our expansion studies in the Philippines, but also looking at other markets in ASEAN, or connecting with other French startups, or even just connecting with other startups in general. It's already been very helpful, and you know, we know we can get a lot more help from it in the coming months and years.
But what made you identify this area specifically? Because, you know, entrepreneurs see an opportunity, right, and a gap that you can somehow fill, you know, somehow bridge. But why education? What made you look at this field? I mean, from all the other things that you could have gotten into, why this?
So, I think growing up between Europe and the Philippines, I always saw how lucky I was in terms of the education I was getting, and in terms of also how structured the education path was. And it always shocked me how whenever I'd come back, it seems like things were less structured, there's a lot less information. And then actually the trigger point really was when my cousin was applying to college a couple of years ago. And I asked him to walk me through the whole college application system, the rankings, how to pick your course, your school, understand what career you have after. And I was shocked at how little information he had in making such an important decision. And then I did more research, and I basically found an industry where Filipinos are spending $15 billion a year and not being too sure what they're buying, and 50% of college graduates not finding a job at graduation. So it just felt like a lot of money was being spent, and education is very close to the Filipino parents' heart. Filipino parents will do anything to pay for their kids' education. And so seeing that, it started clicking that, you know, there was something that could be done in that field.
And your clients are not the students, because people can use your portal for free. It's the universities.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, is that going to change anytime soon, or will you keep that as the model?
So we want Search and Apply to stay free. I think it's the best way of ensuring there's no inequality for the lower income students, because a higher income student can always afford to pay an application fee.
Sure.
So we want to keep it as accessible as possible for lower income students. What we will be doing is adding functionalities which some students can, you know, pay additional fees for, whether it's additional online self-assessments or getting personalized guidance counseling, etc.
Very good. Plans and programs, quickly, from youreducation.ph. Anything in this year, or some things you're going to set up soon?
Yes, so because of the K-12 reform coming to its full fruition, students will be applying for the first time for both senior high school but also for college.
Yes.
So we're very excited about this. We've onboarded another 40 universities in the last 2-3 months, and we're going to be adding more in the run-up to Christmas. And so as parents think of where to send their kids to college, as students think of where they should apply for college, education.ph will be the place to look for it.
Very good. How about you? Before we close, Cyril, anything to look forward to with French Tech Philippines? Any events this year that we can expect?
Yes, so as mentioned earlier, we have a governance committee with 3 directors, and we have an organization that's much more structured. So we have a program for the next 12 months with events, breakfast, executive breakfast. We are going to engage more with also the more mature industry. I think it helps that there's a number of leaders in the tech industry who are French. I just found out that the country manager of Microsoft is French.
Oh, wow.
The country manager of Google is French. We have a lot of French leaders and French entrepreneurs, so we're going to try to mix all of that with Filipino leaders and engage more and more in the next 12 months.
You know, the incoming country manager is Facebook. He's not French, but he speaks French.
That's a good start.
Fluent. There you go. Bravo. So guys, I mean, exciting times ahead for French Tech Philippines and entrepreneurship, and I'm so happy for you and your success, and of course Benedict earlier. I mean, you guys are doing wonderful things, and it's not just a startup. and not just a new business, but a social enterprise, which I think is amazing. So bravo, guys, and more power to you. You guys are heroes. And you know, we're here, and we will promote you guys, your startups, and of course, everything that French Tech Philippines does this year and the years to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks. So guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show on French Tech Philippines and entrepreneurship. Join us again next week here in Global Village, and let us take you around the world. Till then, you all have a good evening. So.